everyone, this is Sofia Osfour and welcome on this new episode of my masterclass podcast on healing wounds with the Osfour self-coaching model. In today's video, we are going to talk about self-awareness and how important it is to be self-aware. And also keep in mind that at the end of this video, I will give you a magic question, and if you find the answer, you can send me an email. There's a link below, and if you have the correct answer, you will win a free coaching session with me using the Osfour self-coaching model. You ready? Let's do this! Hello everyone and welcome back on this new episode of my masterclass podcast on healing wounds with the Osfour self-coaching model. My name is Sofia Osfour and I'm a life coach, a mentor, a master practitioner in NLP and the creator of the Osfour self-coaching model. In today's video, we are going to talk about self-awareness. But before we start, I just want to remind you that this podcast is part of a bigger picture. You have a free worksheet that is part of this masterclass. You also have videos that I post. I used to post them only once a month, but now from this week I'm gonna start to post them once a week. It's a new type of video. They will be slightly shorter, but I will talk about those videos a bit more on this video anyway, because it's very much related to the subject of today, which is self-awareness. Okay guys, so let's talk about self-awareness. So as you probably have seen, this Monday that just passed on the 25th September, I have posted a new video. I used to post one video a month because they were quite long, and in fact, in those videos I was showing you how to use the model as a process. But from now on I've decided I'm going to show you how to use the model more as a tool to self-coach yourself, because as you know, you can use this model in different ways. And also, the videos to use the model as a process, in my opinion, are more pertinent because they allow you to really fix a problem that you have here and now. But also they are much shorter, which should be very good because those videos, when you use the model as a process, can be very long. So ultimately, I just want to clarify, when you use the model as a process, basically you have to think of this model as a washing machine, where you take a negative experiences, you put it in, and by the time the process is finished, what you are left with is the wisdom that this experience had to teach you without the emotional charge, and this is, when you're using the model as a process. But there's also another way to use the model, and it is as a tool, right, to be self-aware. And this is a tool that is very important because it allows you to learn how to self-coach yourself, which I think, in my opinion, is something that everybody should be taught and from a very young age. And that's exactly what the model does, and that's why I want to talk about it today. So first of all, self-awareness, it's very important, because it's very simple. If you don't know what's happening inside of you, then who's supposed to know? But often, what I have found out is not so much that people don't want to know what's happening, is that they don't know what they're supposed to do, with that once you found out. So often people are, in many ways you could say, scared to find out what is it exactly that is happening, so they rather not ask the question. And in fact, we all have been in a situation where we were experiencing something so painful that we just couldn't deal with it, and the only way to deal with it was not to deal with it, if that makes sense. But the problem with that is that it could work for a short period of time, but after a while, all of those emotional stuff, it's never good. And not only that, but it's funny is that, and this is the part for me where it really led me to create this model, is that I remember one day, couple of months before I really started working and creating this model, I was myself in a situation and I started to spontaneously self-coach myself because I had the skills to do so at that point. And what shocked me, and you probably heard me saying this, but I think it's worth repeating, is that how much stuff that was happening inside of me, and yet I was unaware of it. Meaning that it was there and I was reacting to it but I wasn't able to respond to it. And I want to make a clear difference between reacting to something and responding to something. When you're reacting to something that is happening inside of you and you are unaware of what's happening, what it actually means is that you're on autopilot. So most likely what's happening is that, you are either on a, there's a defense mechanism that is, being triggered. But basically what it actually means is that you're not in control, you're on autopilot mode. And maybe that was fine when you were 5 years old, but when you may be an adult, it can be very quickly become a problem. And it depends what it is, of course, but it could quickly be a problem. Not only that, but even without even thinking about, being a problem or not, but who as an adult wants to be on autopilot? Like if you had a choice to be in the pilot, which is what I call responding to a situation. But of course, the reason we are using this method is not because we want to, but because often we have never been taught anything else. And so that is the reason why we're acting that way. So the model gives you really the tools to act in those kind of situation. And I think it's very important that you are able to step out of your autopilot and in fact being in pilot mode. Even though for us it's not natural because we most likely have learned to function on autopilot, I think the future is really people learning how to be on pilot mode. That's the one thing. Now, self-awareness, like I said at the beginning, is that it's this simple tool. It's just so, seems to be so little, but it's just so very powerful, right? And so the model gives you basically 4 basic questions that, in my opinion, everybody should be able to learn and to be able to answer at any given time. And so you saw this in this video that I just posted on Monday about not being good enough, but I wanted to take the time once again in this podcast to talk about it into more details. So the model is divided in 4 parts, but when you use it as a tool, you only use the 3 first part of the model, because the first part has the first question, the second part has the second question, and the third part of the model holds both the 2 last questions that you need in order to have what it takes to be self-aware, of course, but also to do something with what is it that you found out. Because one of the problem, is that when I work with people, they're like, okay, but what, if I'm gonna go and ask myself how I feel, I'm afraid of what I'm gonna say. And then when I know, what am I gonna do with that? Well, that's exactly what the model teaches you to deal with. So the number 1 question and the number 1 skills that is connected to that question that the model invites you to follow when you are facing a moment of crisis, for instance, feeling that you're not good enough could be something that all of us can relate, is what is happening. And I call these skills cut down. In fact, NLP is using this as a tool. So cut down allows you to really go through really what's happening. Simple. And it seems to be so simple question. And I've been practicing this for 2 years, and I have to say to you, it's really funny how sometimes I can feel stuff going on inside of me, being in the reacting mode of it and being triggered by it. But in a way, unless I ask myself, okay, Sofia, what is it exactly that's going on here? Then I don't have the answer and I'm just on a reacting mode. When you ask yourself what is going on, what you can do is to first of all welcome that thing that is happening. And then you can assess that thing that is happening, and from there you can decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do, or this is what I'm not going to do, or in a way have a conversation with yourself. Is it really worth it, me feeling that way? Because there's nothing I can change about that, right? So it really allows you to, once again, to be your own supporter, to be your own supporter, which is something that most of us have missed, sorry, I can't speak English anymore. Most of us have missed having someone that were there to support us emotionally. So you learn to be your own supporter, right? The second thing is coach yourself, right? For instance, if I feel worried for something that I can't change, you know, in that moment I can assess and be like, okay, Sofia, is it really worth it, me feeling worried about this thing when I can't change it? No. So what's the point? Let it go. Okay. And the third thing is really being able for me to step in and for instance, have a strategic thought about what is going to be my reaction, you know. So this simple question allows you to do those three things. Okay. Once you have done that, the second part of the model invites you to answer the simple basic question or so, which goes slightly deeper than the first one, which is, what is it exactly that is hurting or that is hurtful about what is happening? Or another difference of that question would be, or another version of that question would be, what is it exactly that is the problem about what is happening? Right, and I call this zoom in. That's another skills that you develop when you want to self-coach yourself. So, for instance, if I take the example that I've took for this, the last video that I posted about not being good enough, okay, what is it exactly that is hurtful about not feeling good enough, you know? And that is something that only you can answer, but it's important because then we reach the third question, and in that question, and this is really where you step into the space where so many people are feeling afraid to ask this kind of question, because they're like, what am I going to do with that information once I know that, you know, I feel terrible or I feel sad because of this or this or that? Well, the third question and the third skills that this model invites you to follow is simple, is what needs to change, right? And right away, what happens here is that you are straight away set on a solution mode. Okay, it's not just welcoming, but it's also then, okay, what am I going to do with what I found? And so that question and that skills is called slow down. Okay, so it's really for you to be able to, you know, in a way cut through the chase and really see what is exactly the problem and what needs to be changed about that problem. Okay, if I don't feel good enough, you know, obviously, you know, and this is a tough one, because when you don't feel good enough, it's more coming, and I said this in the video, comes from the posture of you feeling as though you have to justify your existence, which is not something you can do. So in that regard, only what needs to change is the belief that you're not good enough. But of course, if we could just snap our fingers and just change a belief, we will all do that, right? So there's a work that needs to be done here. Maybe one day, you know, I could do a video about that, because specifically for this specific belief system, I'm not good enough, whereas a belief that has no justification, where the only thing you can create is the complete opposite, which is I am good enough. That's the only thing you can work on. But I will make, you know, a video about that specific problem another time. Anyway, so right now, you know, the like I said, the third question was slow down and what needs to be changed in this problem. Finally, you know, the last part, it's the third part of the model, but you know, the third part of the model has two parts. Part 1 and part 2. And so the last part and the last skills that needs to develop in that is, okay, now I know what needs to be changed. How am I going to make that change? Or another version of that question is, what do I need to make that change? Okay, so as you can see, the model already has everything to take you on a journey so that you can, first of all, find out what's happening inside of you in demand, then clarify exactly what is the problem about what is happening, then tell you, okay, what needs to be changed and how am I going to change it? Those are the 4 basic questions that each and every one of us should be able to answer at any given time, because moment of crisis, in my opinion, they could be so little. It doesn't need to be something really big. If I have a moment where I'm supposed to give a paper, or I'm supposed to make a talk, or I'm supposed to do something that I've been working and I don't feel good enough, then this is a moment of crisis. There's no question. It doesn't need, you don't need to have lots of drama and tears and all of this stuff. This is a moment of crisis, and you should be able to, in a way, step out as yourself, where you just on autopilot and you're just responding to whatever is happening, and step in as, okay, now I change my hat. I'm not me, I'm my coach, I'm my supporter, I'm my best friend. You call it what you want, but this is the skills that we should all have. And then ask yourself, okay, what's happening inside of me right now? What is it exactly that is hurting about what's happening inside of me? What needs to be changed about what's happening, and how can I change it, or what do I need to change it? Those are basic questions. Anyone can do that. Anyone should be able to do that. And you will see changes in your life. As simple as that. Changes in your life will appear. I have been using this for the last 2 years massively, where whenever I'm like in a moment of crisis, I'm like, Sofia, what's happening here with you? And I have to say to you that how I'm able to be so much more peaceful, and also, where places in my life where, sometimes I was just responding. Now I can step back and just slow down and diffuse situation that could have gone much more in a more like dramatic side of things, just because I have developed those skills, and I think everybody should have them. Okay guys, so this was the episode of today. I hope this video helped you, this podcast helped you. If you can leave me a smiley or a thumbs up, that would be amazing. And or a message or anything, that would be amazing. And all I'm gonna say to you until next week is peace, love and light. Bye bye.